I'll start, especially since we have all this preliminary thing. I'm sure some other people will still be joining us. Well, I guess the first thing is that
Cheryl, I'm trying to find your script for.
Oh, I have the script.
Yeah. I just like to follow along.
So the one that I send out usually? No, I just got home 5 minutes ago.
The one where I have to make the motions. I got it. I found one.
Okay.
I found one from June. We're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah.
So was there a conference ID number?
There is a conference ID number in the invitation that Grace just sent out, the reminder.
I'll need to be prompted. I'll need to be prompted on that then.
I think I do that.
Yeah. Okay. Cheryl does that.
I just have to write it in the right place here.
All right, then I won't worry about that.
Yeah. I didn't see it earlier. I don't know if I just missed it. All right. Let's see if we have Sarah Sue.
Barbara got a haircut.
Yeah, this really looks really cute, Barbara.
Well, thank you. Not I don't know. It my hair is not my best feature.
But
different, so thank you.
It's a good cut on you, and it's very youthful looking.
Thank you. I need that.
No, actually, Barbara Peters, I think, also got has a nice cut too. That's new.
Thank you.
All the Barbaras.
All the Barbaras are looking good. They're showing us all out.
Barbara's leading the hair parade.
I want to see everybody here, and I only have 4 of you that I can see. I want to change that.
Well,
just switch it to large gallery.
Gallery. The little 3 dots.
I got the 3 dots. Oh, got it.
Large gallery.
Oh, that's it. That's the one. The large gallery. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Hot dog. Okay.
All right.
There's everybody.
Okay. I'm going to call our meeting to order. Welcome to the Fairfax County History Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 3rd at 7:30. In order to conduct this meeting wholly electronically, the History Commission needs to make certain findings for the record to evidence our compliance with all applicable laws. These motions address this compliance. First, I'm going to conduct a roll call so that each board member participating in this meeting can state your name and your location. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. So, Ann Stuntz.
I'm here in Hunter Mill District. Ann Stuntz.
Barbara Nath.
Barbara Nath, Reston, Hunter Mill.
David Meyer.
I don't think he's here. Maybe he is here.
David, are you there? I see you listed. Okay, I'm going to continue. Elise Murray.
She just sent me a message that she's having issues with her camera and mic, so I'm going to work with her on that.
Okay. Esther McCullough.
Esther McCullough, Sully District.
Gretchen Bulova.
Gretchen Bulova, Braddock District, Fairfax.
Lynn Garvey Hodge.
Lynn Garvey Hodge, at large in Fairfax and in Springfield District.
Mary Lipsey.
Mary Lipsey, Braddock District in Springfield.
Phyllis Walker Ford.
Phyllis Walker Ford, Clifton, representing Franconia District.
Robert Beach.
Architect at large. Architect at large in Fairfax, Braddock District.
Okay, thank you. Sally Lyons.
Sally Lyons, Colchester, Mount Vernon District.
Okay, Subi Mehdi.
Subi Mehdi, McLean, Dranesville District.
Sue Schumann.
Sue Kovacs, Schumann, Mantua, Providence District.
Tammy Manarino.
Tammy Manarino, Mount Vernon District.
Okay. Steve, are you there? Steve Sherman? Okay. And let me go back to David Meyer. David, I see his name on the list of participants. That's why I'm calling him, but and Elise is still having difficulty getting on. Yes. So Elise is here.
This isn't me, is it? I see on my screen that I'm using the Teams platform for the first time, and it looks like David E. Meyer is displaying as my name. So
oh, is this Elliot?
It is, yes, it's Elliot. Sorry.
Okay. So I know that Janae is excused, and she was saying that there was a volunteer award ceremony this evening, and so she was anticipating that David would be attending that because it's a Fairfax City Awards volunteer ceremony. So he might very well also be excused for that. Carol Herrick, I forgot you. I'm sorry.
I'm here, Drainsville District.
Okay. All right.
And me?
Who's in the?
This is Barbara Peters.
Oh yeah, I thought I called you earlier. I'm sorry, Barbara.
No, I'm in Ocean City, Maryland, representing Mason District.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like a vacation.
That's. I'm sorry, Barbara. I did see you listed. I just missed it. Okay. How are we doing with a connection with Elise? Grace?
I have not heard, at least if you can hear me, and then try logging out and logging back in again. It might start working then.
Yeah, I think she's logged out.
Okay.
You haven't called Jordan.
I have not. I do not see Jordan listed. So, so is Jordan Tannenbaum out there?
There is one phone number that has called in. Would you like me to unmute them so we can see who it is?
Yeah, that might be Steve Sherman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Steve,
whoever has called in, I have unmuted you. You might have to hit *3, I believe it is, to unmute yourself. Yeah. And it appears that you are unmuted, caller.
Well.
So Steve Sherman, I know he emailed me earlier, so I anticipate him being here.
I think he wanted to be here tonight. I talked to him earlier today.
Excuse me, I'm here. I already answered the roll call.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Can you hear me? Thank you.
Now we got you. Yeah, we could not hear you earlier, so now we can hear you.
Oh my, okay, great.
Okay. Which is one of the reasons why we do this roll call. And I
thought I answered the roll call, but nobody didn't say anything different, and I was here.
Okay. And yeah, so I'll call out Jordan Tannenbaum again. As I said, I don't expect Janae to be here, and I really wasn't expecting David either. And Jordan. Okay, so I think we can proceed them to. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Lynn Garvey Hodge so that I may make the appropriate motions. So here you go, Lynn. I move that the History Commission certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
Second.
I'll need to second. This is Esther.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. That's right.
Carry it through.
All right, any oppositions? Hearing none, the motion is passed.
Okay. Second, I move that the History Commission certify that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this commission and the public to physically attend this meeting in person, and the usual procedures cannot be implemented safely or practically. As a result, I further move that the Fairfax County History Commission conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by calling 1-571-429-5982 and entering the access code 244-405-861-480.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? All in favor? Aye.
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 So
I
moved.
abstain. I
So
abstain.
moved. Okay, Subi abstains.
Subi, you're abstaining. Okay, Subi abstains.
Can I explain why?
If you wish, you don't have to.
Because everybody else is having in-person meetings. So when you talk about the COVID emergency, I don't understand why it applies to us and not to others. I was just at a Fairfax County Commission meeting in person today.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it is now a option, but the state of emergency still
Now,
First, one of the advantages of in-person meetings is that you don't have these technical difficulties. Although there's always traffic. So
I'd rather be healthy.
Cheryl, you didn't call Ann Barnes. Is she?
But I did not. Just because I was calling from the participants list, but you're correct. I did not. I didn't call Ann. Ann Barnes, are you? I don't see her listed.
and caller, it looks like it's *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi.
I actually have to reach out to Ann and see how she's doing.
This is Elise.
It's Elise.
I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Very
barely.
quiet.
Just barely, yeah.
Got it.
I will leave you unmuted. You can mute and unmute yourself. And there are no other callers, Cheryl.
Okay. All right. Can we have a motion to pass the minute, to approve the minutes and pay the clerk?
Barbara so moves.
All right. All those in favor of passing the minute, of approving the minutes and paying the clerk, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, it is so moved. The minutes have been approved, and the clerk will ask that the clerk be paid. Continuing on to our treasurer's report, Sue.
Hi, how are you? Hang on a second. I'm trying to turn the camera on and it's not, well, I broke my camera. That's fine. I'll just give the report. I've been out taking a tree down, so I guess that makes sense. Besides paying the clerk, we paid for the frying.
For the what?
A frying pan park marker.
Okay.
Repair. So we actually look really good because we got the contribution from the county of $21,013, and our
Lost you again.
Yeah,
Sorry?
you dropped out just then. You just dropped out
Oh.
as you were bringing up the total.
Okay, $72,431.86. And the Park Authority History Conference account is $2,022.30, but I just got an email from them today. They're adding 50 cents to that for interest, so we can't even buy a candy bar or a piece of candy or anything for that. So don't let it go to your head, Lynn, but you have $2,085.30 for the conference.
But you had said 50 cents. You mean $50?
No, 50 cents. It's an 85. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what you're saying. I told you I was taking a tree down. I'm really in very bad shape right now. Just add
Aw,
50
bless your
cents to
heart.
the total. That's all right. A tree fell today.
So tell us the
anyway.
total again.
Okay.
2022.85, correct, Sue?
Correct.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to do that today. You must be exhausted.
That's okay. Have you
Paul
looked at the
Bunyan,
price?
you are.
Yeah, exactly. I can't do a Forest Service project right now, so that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate that. All right. So we have a guest, Denise Trestle, has returned to us to give us a report on Holmes Run Acres Historic Overlay District. So Denise, I did see you there earlier, and I'm sorry for staff members. I didn't mean to overlook you, but hopefully you all are going to be able to contact us and speak to us.
Sure. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then we'll talk about Holmes Run Acres. Let's see. Hang on for just a second. Sorry. Up. Okay. So you all probably see I always get this wrong, so bear with me. I'm sorry. Let's see. So I'm going to go. I can't wait.
You just have to go into the slideshow and present the slideshow.
It's grayed out.
Oh, really?
Not for us.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
There.
There we go.
Now.
Do you see my notes?
No.
You see the presentation. Okay, I see
Yes.
Amy shaking her head. Oh, that's good. Okay, so because I see my notes, that's great.
No, I didn't realize
All
I
right.
had my camera.
All right, thanks everybody. So hi, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to present the preliminary results of the study that we've been conducting for the Holmes Run Acres Potential Historic Overlay District. You all know me. I'm Denise Trestle. I am the Principal Heritage Resource Planner with the Department of Planning and Development. And with me tonight is Grace Davenport, who has been aptly helping on the technology side, and Megan Riley, who have been assisting with this study. Grace has done quite a bit of work. And I'm going to turn off my camera just to save bandwidth here. Oh. Do y'all still see my screen? Somehow I lost it. Okay. Sorry, I lost it. No. I can't see my screen.
Yeah, we see it.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
Trying to think.
There we go.
Okay.
Advanced?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so what is a historic overlay district? It's a zoning tool that's used in promoting the general promoting the general welfare through the identification, preservation, and enhancement of those buildings, structures, neighborhoods, landscapes, places, and areas that have historical, cultural, architectural, or archaeological significance. It's officially designated by the Board of Supervisors to prevent encroachment of new buildings or structures and additions that are incongruous with the visual or historic character of the district. It's put in place to promote the upkeep and rehabilitation of older structures, educate residents, and encourage preservation, and ensure new development within the district is appropriate. The Architectural Review Board has purview over the historic overlay districts and the buildings within the district boundaries, They use design guidelines to review building permits and site plans to ensure new development within the district is compatible with the historic character of the district. They collaborate with the homeowner on the design of the proposal to ensure it's compatible with the historic character. And the ARB reviews and approves the design guidelines. Not the Board of Supervisors. However, the design guidelines are included in the package that will go to the board with this study. So a little background on the study. The Holmes Acres neighborhood is located in the southeast of the intersection of Gallows Road and Interstate 495 inside the Capitol Beltway. At the time of the board authorization, it was in the Providence Supervisory District, and since redistricting, it's now in the Mason District. On January 24th, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized the consideration of a comprehensive plan amendment for the Holmes Acres subdivision in the Jefferson Planning District. The board requested that staff evaluate the neighborhood to include, including in its analysis, recommendations on the historic and architectural significance, as well as boundaries for the potential creation of historic overlay district. In addition to the potential comprehensive plan amendment, staff will also be drafting a potential zoning ordinance amendment, as well as a rezoning application for the addition of the historic overlay district, if approved by the Board of Supervisors. Staff's report analysis will include discussions of the significance of the district, the current conditions, character defining features, contributing and non-contributing properties, the boundaries, and the zoning ordinance recommendations. So the existing conditions, these are staff's preliminary findings. The total parcels included in the study area were 366. The total acres in the study area was 145 acres. The site is currently developed with single-family detached housing, with the exception of Woodburn Elementary School, Loria Park, and the Holmes Acres Recreation Association, which is a private community recreation center. The adopted plan for the area recommends 2 to 3 dwelling units per acre, and the entire study area is zoned R3. No change is planned, no change to the planned land uses or density is being proposed. Included in the study area are the parcels shown in the crossed hatch area for the potential inclusion in the HOD boundary. These parcels were excluded from the National Register boundary, shown here in yellow. These included the homes on the southern portion of Executive Avenue, just north of Gallows Road, the 3 homes that are on Gallows Road that you can see in front of that larger parcel, which is adjacent to the Woodburn Elementary School and owned by FCPS, which was also excluded from the National Register boundaries, and the parcel adjacent to and owned by the Holmes Acres Recreation Association. The zoning ordinance Article 3, subsection 3101.3, the establishment of districts, states, to establish an HOD, the board must determine that the proposed district possesses historic, architectural, archaeological, or cultural significance. According to the National Register of Historic Places nomination, the Holmes Acres neighborhood consists of approximately 140 acres and is comprised of over 350 modern-style suburban single-family dwellings constructed between 1951 and 1958. The developers, brothers Gerald and Eli Luria, created a subdivision with affordable houses that took advantage of the natural terrain by blending the homes into the natural surroundings. The Lurias hired architects Nicholas Satterley and Donald Lethbridge to design small, inexpensive housing consisting of standardized features and modules that made the buildings adaptable. They designed the homes to be affordable, quick to construct, and sited in harmony with the natural topography and landscaping. Influenced by the principles of Frank Lloyd Wright's Usonian dwellings, the architects designed the houses in a modern style, featuring open floor plans, plywood panels, fixed glass, sliding windows at a time when the ranch and colonial revival styles were much more popular in most nearby suburban communities. The modern designs of the dwellings included large windows on the primary facade, shed or low slope gable roofs, and prominent brick chimneys. The dwellings were sited at an angle on lots that provided maximum privacy for homeowners. Holmes Run Acres was added to the County Inventory of Historic Sites on February 2nd, 1977, the Virginia Landmarks Register on December 6, 2006, and the National Register of Historic Places on March 22nd, 2007. Listing in these registers is an honorary designation and offers no preservation protection. Excuse me. So as I said, the board authorized the study in January in 2020, and we all know what happened shortly after that. So COVID sent everyone home and readjusting in March 2020, but staff was able to begin conducting field work at that time. The first work group meeting met on September 2020, and since then there have been 15 work meetings with the work group. There have also been a number of community meetings. We held our third last Tuesday, and which I was not able to attend because I was sick with COVID. So we're holding another community meeting tomorrow, which will be virtual. The meeting on Tuesday was in person, so I did not attend, but tomorrow I will be conducting a virtual community meeting, which will be the fourth community meeting. So with the work group, we reviewed the design features of the neighborhood. We reviewed and discussed, contributing and non-contributing properties. And we've gone through several iterations of the draft design guidelines. During this time, staff was also conducting site visits, researching the potential boundaries, the contributing and non-contributing properties, and collaborating, of course, with the work group. The staff analysis and findings will include recommendations for the historic boundary, the HOD boundaries, which will include a map for the rezoning to add the overlay district to the zoning map, contributing and non-contributing properties, comprehensive plan amendment, and the zoning ordinance amendment. So when reviewing exterior projects requiring building permits in an existing HOD, the ARB will use guidelines for new construction, existing structures, and exterior alterations of existing building structures and sites located within the historic overlay district based on the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. These standards are written in the zoning ordinance regulating all HODs. The standards embody two important goals: the preservation of historic materials and the preservation of a building's distinguishing characters. Each building, every old building is unique with its own identity and its own distinctive character. Character refers to all of those visual aspects and physical features that comprise the appearance of every building. Character defining features or elements include the overall shape of a building, its materials, craftsmanship, decorative details, interior spaces and features, as well as the various aspects of its site and environment. The work group has been helping staff to identify those features or elements that give the district and the buildings within the district its visual character that should be taken into account by the ARB in order to preserve that character to the maximum extent possible. And here are a list of character defining features that were found in the National Register nomination for the Holmes Run Acres district. Curvilinear roads, the siding of the dwellings, which I've already mentioned, the modern architectural design, the windows and the prolific use of glass, the materials, brick, wood, brick, and brick veneer, the roof shape, and the large brick chimneys. And here are some of the characteristics or significant features that the work group has identified which are fairly similar to the characteristics identified in the National Register nomination. So the methodology that staff use for determining or for recommending determinations of contributing and non-contributing, we first started with the National Register nomination. Was the property in 2006 and 2007, when that study was conducted, was it considered contributing at that time? Then we looked at modifications to the structure since the nomination and modifications to the structure during the period of significance. We looked at if the structure had been modified, did it still retain its character defining features, as we just went over? And then if it had been modified, did the modification diminish the historic integrity of the building according to the Secretary of Interior standards? So this is the proposed boundaries that the staff is proposing. The homes on the southern portion of Executive Avenue were excluded from the National Register boundaries, and staff continues to recommend that they are excluded in the Historic Overlay District boundaries if adopted, along with the 3 homes that sit right there on Gallows Road in front of the parcel owned by Fairfax County Public Schools. There were 4 properties that were not identified in the National Register boundaries that are owned by Fairfax County Park Authority that staff is recommending including in the National Register in the Historic Overlay District boundaries as contributing. The parcel, the FCPS, the Fairfax County Public Schools, owns 2 parcels which staff is recommending be excluded from the boundaries. The Holmes Run Acres Recreation Association owns 2 parcels, which staff is recommending be included in the boundaries. Those are those 2 long, skinny parcels that abut Gallows Road. And there were 10 houses that have undergone alterations significant enough to change staff's recommendation from contributing to non-contributing since the National Register nomination was completed. So the comprehensive plan is required by state law to be used as a guide to decision-making about the natural and built environment by the county's Board of Supervisors and others, such as the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and staff. It's also a guide for staff and the public to use in the planning process. Current language notes that the listing of Holmes Run Acres community on the Inventory of Historic Sites, the Virginia Landmarks Register, and the National Register nomination. The proposed updates will be mainly editorial and will add the designation of Historic Overlay District if approved by the Board of Supervisors. The zoning ordinance amendment, I have a zoning administrator, a person who works for the zoning administration division, and they are doing the zoning ordinance amendment. This is really out of my field of expertise, but I will say that the zoning ordinance amendment will actually create the historic overlay district for Holmes Run Acres. There are no changes that are being proposed to the underlying R3 district. However, the staff is recommending that a maximum height of 35 feet for all principal structures. Right now, there's a maximum height of 35 feet for single-family dwellings and a maximum height of 60 feet for all other structures. But staff is recommending a maximum height of 35 feet for all principal structures. So that would be one change. So the design guidelines offer practical guidance for property owners, the design community, county staff, and the Architectural Review Board when determining the appropriateness of proposed work during the project's planning and review process. Staff and the ARB will use the design guidelines during their review of zoning applications, site plans, and building permits to evaluate a proposed project. Because they are guidelines, the ARB has some latitude and to allow flexibility in their application. And I think I talked about the design guidelines earlier being based on the Secretary of the Interior standards. So what would a historic overlay district designation mean for a property in homes or in acres? So the ARB will use the design guidelines, as I just discussed, to evaluate proposals. The ARB review and approval is required before a building permit can be issued and applies to exterior renovations, new construction, or demolitions. ARB review is not required for interior alterations. Existing renovations can remain, and the underlying zoning remains in place, as I've already stated. ARB review and recommendation is required for any site plan, rezoning, special exception, special permit, or variance applications. And here are just some examples of when a permit is required and when a permit is not required. And again, this is sort of out of our wheelhouse. The Land Development Services webpage has a complete list of when a building permit is required. So staff was asked to conduct a poll on behalf of the Homes on Acres Civic Association of all the property owners in the Homes on Acres neighborhood. And that poll opened live on August 1st and will remain open through Friday, September 9th. The poll questions are: how informed do you feel about the potential historic overlay district for Homes on Acres? Do you support the establishment of a historic overlay district for the Homes on Acres neighborhood? And the original homes in Homes on Acres models are under 25 feet tall. The current and proposed zoning regulations allow homes to be up to 35 feet tall in an R3 zoning district. Would you support consideration of an allowable building height of less than 35 feet for Homes on Acres? And then, of course, we'll have a comment box for people. And this poll is only for property owners. Anybody can look at it, but not everybody can take it. And there's the front of the postcard that went out. Everybody in the neighborhood received one this week. So the poll timeline, again, the community meeting was just happened on July 26th. We've added another community meeting. Sorry, I didn't update this slide. On August 4th, that's tomorrow. The poll will be open through September 9th, and then the poll results will be presented in October. The study timeline, again, the poll will be open. Staff is making presentations to the Architectural Review Board, the History Commission, and the Park Authority, as I'm doing tonight. The community poll results will be published online in probably October. I'm pretty certain of that. In January, staff analysis should be complete, and my staff report or our staff report should be published online. The board authorization of the public hearing dates will happen in January as well. And then there will be public hearings at the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors for the study. And of course, these dates are all subject to change. Holland Hills went through several stops and starts, and you know, it's not unusual if that happens. And that's it. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Denise. That was very clear. Anybody have questions or comments for Denise? I haven't seen Holmes run, images really before. Those beautiful homes.
Oh, it's a gorgeous neighborhood.
Yeah.
Very serene. It's near Lake Barcroft.
Any questions, comments? I don't see any hands. Oh, Barbara, go ahead.
just compliments, because I learned something after all these years. When you do one of your presentations, I learn more. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Wish somehow we could get our cluster or parts of Middle Reston in an HOD. But anyway, I get inspired when I hear you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Barbara. And thank you all for indulging me. I know that's a long, a long presentation with a lot of detail.
Very thorough, very thorough.
Somebody else, I can't, is that Barbara's hand that's still up or, oh.
Oh,
I'm
actually, I'm going to ask a question.
Pardon me. There.
Sure, Carol, go ahead.
Do you expect any difficulty getting this through?
Well, at the start of the study, prior to the study, there was a survey that was done in the community. So this is community led and community driven. You know, this isn't something that the county, you know, went seeking. So I don't. It's been a long process and an odd process with COVID thrown in there in the middle. I know that there is some community opposition. I know that some people are opposed to it. I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, just generally having to go through more red tape, you know, another review process, etc. You know, I guess time will tell. I think that's why the Civic Association wanted the poll, to take the pulse of the community. And the poll results, I'm sorry if I didn't say this, but the poll results will be included in my staff report to the board.
Good. I only ask because a lot of homeowners association have things like this, and boy, they get to infighting. So yes. I just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, Holmes for Acres does not have an HOA.
Interesting.
They have a civic association.
All right, Elise.
I have my hand up.
Yes.
And I was one of your two representatives on the working group, which I'm not sure if Denise mentioned or not. Sue Kovach and then Barbara Peters were the other two. There's a lot of concern, at least from the ARB perspective, that what these people want, which is basically to roll back redevelopment, will not be something that being a historic overlay district will provide them. And so there is some concern that it's not really what they need. And so I'm not as confident as Denise that it's going to be approved.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to present a false confidence. I just don't know. And thank you, Elise and Barbara and Sue, for all your work you did on the work group. They all attended the meetings and participated in the conversations. And as I said, we held 15 meetings with the community. So forgive my oversight.
I can't raise my hand. I'm like so handicapped back here tonight. I don't know what's going on. However, I wanted to say, Denise, that I learned a lot in the process when we were talking about the contributing and non-contributing properties. And I think the process was started by at least two people who actually have an architectural background. So putting the community on board by giving them that background and kind of the beauty and the landscape and putting the houses into it, I think that went a long way towards getting more people on board. So we'll see how this goes, but they live there and they care very much, and they were explaining it and getting more people interested. And with your help, that really did help. More people came around. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Sue. Yeah. Yes, it was a lively work group.
But fun.
Yeah.
Lynn.
I just want to dovetail on what Carol said. When you, I don't know if you all have heard of the 20-50-30 rule. Robert F. Kennedy was one that quoted it often, that when you try a new initiative, 20% of the people are for it, 50% of the people are on the fence, and sometimes there's about a 30% pushback. So I kind of hope that some of those numbers are switched around for this, because this is a lovely community. I'd really like to see it sustain itself in the county. That's it.
Thanks, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
I think Barbara Peters.
What I'd like to ask is what you mentioned that there are 10 non-conforming properties already. And how does the community deal with that? Because they are interspersed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like with executive where there's a section that's totally different. You know, and I think they are the cause of why the community started the whole process to prohibit more of this. But how does an overlay district deal with these already non-conforming properties mixed in?
Non-contributing properties. Well, they'll continue to remain in the, you know, in the neighborhood. There's no going back. There's no returning to. So they'll continue to remain. However, they will, if they require a building permit or a site plan over 2,500 square feet, or if they are coming to the county for any kind of permit, they will go through Architectural Review Board review. So what the Architectural Review Board is considering is the character of the entire district. So the non-contributing properties are, as you rightly point out, you know, they're adjacent to the contributing properties. So the Architectural Review Board will work with the non-contributing owners just as they will work with the contributing owners to get the best result for the entire district.
Okay. So they are held to the same rules if the community votes for it.
They're held to they obviously the rules are a bit different because they don't have contributing structures. So you know, you can't if all of the windows have been replaced, you know, they're gone now. But what they'll try to do is you know, particularly for scale and massing and just impact to the visual aesthetic of the entire district, they'll work with that property owner. And style, I have to say, I think would probably be a big part of what the Architectural Review Board would be conversing with the non-contributing structures. No, I see a hand, but I don't know who it is.
Lynn still has her hand
up. Lynn.
up.
Okay,
Oh,
Lynn.
Lindy Laura.
Yeah.
Down.
I don't know and I think that might be it. Actually, I have a quick question, or I hope it's quick. The 35 feet, I see that often in various, you know, HOD guidelines. Is that is that 2 stories, 3 stories? Why is that come up?
Right. You know, that's a zoning question. I'm happy to answer that for you, Cheryl. I'm happy to go and find the answer to that and bring it back to you. That's out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's not critical. I was just curious.
From the architect standpoint, it's 35 feet.
I was going to speak on Bob's behalf. Go ahead.
35 feet is the normal code we have to work under for residential single family. And it's 35 feet is the average peak to average grade height.
Okay, and as that translates into a single-story building, a 2-story building, 2 stories, right?
2 stories plus a pitched roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, everything that you see right now is 35 feet in a residential district.
It is. That's normal.
The Holmes Run Acres had floated the idea of a lower than 35 feet, but that seems to have been, staff has overruled that request. I have a feeling that in Virginia, as a property rights state, that they couldn't preclude 35 feet house buildings.
Oh, really?
It's also exactly the same for Holland Hills.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
I have a question for Bob. I couldn't understand him. He said 35 feet. That's 2 levels and what?
Sort of 2.5. You have to do a really tough calculation because it's average peak to average grade. So you have a high peak, you can be halfway down the peak, and you can be partly out of the ground with your basement. So you look at those pictures that you saw in the presentation. Some some of the hills went way up to the left, and you had a one-story house on one side and two-story on the other, but they have low sloped roofs. And so when you get your calculations done, my opinion is that the 35 feet will protect this neighborhood in its preservation state quite well. So it's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask Bob a question. I remember when we were working on Sully and all the requirements around it when all that construction was done, Bob, didn't you say something like 46 feet equals 3 stories? And that was kind of our cutoff. Am I remembering that correctly?
You know, you're younger and look better than me, so your memory's probably better. So I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you.
well earned.
But that's near the airport, so there might have been exceptions.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments for Denise? Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation, Denise. Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all.
Nice
to see you too.
Take
Yeah,
care.
very, very enjoyable. Thank you.
All right. So then we will proceed on. Amy, let's tell us what is going on in the Fairfax County Park Authority.
Well, you know, we're really busy here. Thank you also, Denise. I appreciate your work on that. Those HODs really do a lot for us to be able to protect neighborhoods. So thank you on archaeology's end as well. First and foremost, Commissioner Lindner asked that because she would be absent today, that I not provide any information about the gazebo at Sully that she would like to see moved to the courthouse. So I will not be presenting anything on that today. We'll table that until the next meeting. But moving on, the Archaeology and Collections branch has held for, I think, since the early 80s, archaeological materials derived from Fort Belvoir. And the Department of the Army has a museum collections facility at Fort Lee that they have recently done renovations on, and they decided they would take their collections back. And that is a win-win for us. It's always sad for us to lose a collection that's derived from the county, but knowing that we are as squeezed for space as we are, and we are, having the Army take those collections, which are beautifully cared for, back to Fort Lee allows us to have a little bit of wiggle room as we try to get that collections facility built. So that was our big project this month, was helping the Department of the Army move those collections from Fort Belvoir to Fort Lee. They'll still be available for any kind of researchers. We have their full catalog, so we know what went where. We have photographs and various sort of, not the thing, but everything about the thing, details about the objects, still at our offices. But the Army is committed to continuing to be available to researchers. So that was a sad but happy movement in our collections this month. I met with staff out at Colvin Run Mill, and wow, I did not realize that the Route 7 widening was moving on apace as it is. And so Colvin Run has a new, well, relatively new manager at the site, and she and I walked the site and talked about the cultural resources that are not so visible at Colvin and how to protect those, and had a lovely discussion about historic gardens and archaeology and such at Colvin Run Mill. And we are going to go and train some staff with her this fall as well. What else did we do? We went to the Archaeology in the Community, it's sort of a fair at Dumbarton House. If you haven't been in Washington, D.C., it's a lovely historic home, beautiful place to spend some time. And our staff had a really, really nice time hanging out with archaeologists and archaeological enthusiasts in D.C. over a beautiful, non-rainy for once day. And it really inspired us. We are hoping to do a similar event here in Fairfax County in October. Stay tuned as I jump in with both feet like a crazy person and try to get something off the ground for us. But it was a really lovely event, and we enjoyed spending time with our colleagues at Alexandria, at Montgomery County, at NPS, etc. Big thanks to Commissioner Bulova, who helped us at the ACB conduct interviews for our new museum collections manager. Gretchen knows more about museums than I will ever forget, so it was a pleasure to have her on our team. I believe we are extending an offer any moment now, so I'm hoping to have somebody aboard very, very soon in our museum collections role, and that will be incredibly helpful. And thank you again, Gretchen, for that. It was a pleasure to work with you. What else we got going on? Met with staff at Leahy Lost Valley Park just last Friday. There's some waterproofing that needs to be done for the basement level there. We'll be doing archaeology before that happens, and I met with the consultant who will be doing that archaeology. I have nothing but great things to say about that consultant and their work, and I'm really pleased. Hopefully we can get through the contracting process pretty quickly here and get that going before the fall really kicks off. And then I've got staff at Riverbend Park. We're so close. There will be a day that I say we're done at Riverbend, and I look forward to that day. We're getting really close. We are a small staff, I should remind everyone. And we had some injuries, which does happen with archaeology. We had some injuries that sidelined some folks' shoulder injuries, which you might see me doing this a lot when I'm in meetings. It just happens when you sling a shovel for your living. But everybody's been through their PT and we're back at it. So hope to finish up at Riverbend very soon. But we've also been sidelined by the summer campers out there who are lovely little dudes and dudettes who have so many questions about archaeology and what are we up to and what did we find? And they have been hilariously funny. Their questions are always so good. And we've been spending some time with those campers as well. And that has been a nice respite from just digging the holes in this heat. So that's what we've been up to this August. But look forward to big things in Archaeology Month in October. And I'm sure we'll be able to fill the gap in September as well. But if you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I know Tammy's hand went up early on, and then Lynn is also waiting.
I did, because of course I was very concerned with the Fort Belvoir assets going far away. So and just a little disappointed because we have the Army Museum so close by, and I've asked some questions before of them of, Fort Belvoir has such incredible history, and why isn't there a section of that great museum for research on Fort Belvoir, because the documentation is kept in a Quonset hut in the woods of Fort Belvoir. I mean, it's just crazy, and you've got this state-of-the-art museum there. So I'm a little bit sad that it's so far away. And at some point, when I have time, never, I would like to take a look at the catalog just to see what's there from Fort Belvoir. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I did. Oh, go ahead.
I would be happy to share. We also have some reports that you might be interested in that coincide with the materials. And I've always wondered about that as well. Why not the History Museum? But for whatever reason, the Department of the Army puts their archaeological materials at Fort Lee and their more historic type of material at the Fort Belvoir Museum.
Yeah. So we will see.
Yeah.
So one question that I had, it was actually from last month, was the it's a general question and a specific question. The Union Farm cleanup, I think, was canceled because it was pouring rain. And I did wonder, like, is there a place to look for information on cleanups? Like when there is a cleanup going on in the Mount Vernon district, I would love to sort of, get that on my calendar, to go check out what's going on and pitch in and help. So is there a listing that I can get on to find out when that's going on?
I believe there is. It's our Heritage Conservation Branch that puts those cleanups on. So I'll defer to them. I think they're right after me, if not after Chris. But I'm sure there is some kind of volunteer blast that you can get on for those.
Okay. And so that's probably just been postponed, the Union Farm.
Yeah, the weather's been just killing us.
Seriously. If it's not too wet, it's too hot.
That's right.
So thank you, Amy. Great report.
Of course. No, my pleasure. Anybody else? Hi, Lynn.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Hey, I'm so happy that Leahy Lost Valley is getting some water attention. You know, I've got this love affair going on with that historic landscape. I just love that property. And when I saw it 4 years ago, I thought, oh my gosh, this, at least a French drain. I'm sure probably more than that. But anyway, thank you for keeping us posted on that. When you were at Dumbarton, which is one of my favorite places in DC, Hillary and I love to go there, have for years. Y'all might be interested that the 20th century early landscape architect and designer was Beatrix Farrand. And she's the one that designed all the gardens at Dumbarton Oaks, as well as the gardens at Green Springs over in Alexandria. So yeah, kind of a fun little trivia there, but it's such a romantic, beautiful place. If y'all haven't been, please go. It's great.
It really is stunning. It was lovely to be there for work, but it was a pleasure as well.
Wonderful. I'm jealous.
Anybody else? I see a hand, but I'll bet it's stuck up from earlier.
That's Tammy's, yeah.
Yeah, it's Tammy. All right. Well, thank you all. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.
Jordan.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I joined late, had some technical difficulties, but could you go back into being on the board of the Army history of the Army Museum, the NAMUSA? Tell me again what it is I missed that part of it.
What did we do anyhow?
Yeah.
So the county has had a memorandum of understanding with Fort Belvoir for decades at this point, to house their archaeological derived artifacts. So because Army is fed, and fed means Section 106 work, there's a fair amount of archaeological material out there. And this year, because of the sort of improvements they've done at Fort Lee, the Department of the Army asked us to end our memorandum of understanding and have those collections transferred to Fort Lee, which of course we don't own them, they own them, and they get to choose what to do with them. And so we made that happen, and that was just last week that we did that. So they've moved to Fort Lee, and staff from St. Louis, the Army Corps of Engineers, they have a big central location for their collection sort of management folks in St. Louis, and they came out to facilitate that move.
And you were suggesting that it might be a good idea to have, at some point, it would have been nice to have an exhibit or something, or some kind of connection.
I think Commissioner Manarino was interested in having something at the museum there. There's certainly materials there that I think are worthy of exhibit.
Not a bad idea.
It's so tied to the founding of our county, you know. That's the Fairfax family seat. So
yes, and so all the artifacts from the Belvoir house, and there's really wonderful artifacts from the War of 1812 there. One of the artifacts I like to show people when they came to visit is an unexploded, huge piece of ordnance, and it's the bomb that did not burst in midair. But as the ships went up to Baltimore and Fort McHenry, they have some ordnance that they found in the river Potomac there.
You provide helmets and flak jackets, or is that extra?
You know, I'm not kidding. We did have to have the Belvoir ordnance folk come out and just ensure everybody that everything was inert before it moved. So no flak jackets this week, but you know.
Right. Well, look, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, Tammy. I can suggest it to the other Tammy, who runs the museum and who runs the federal part of the museum and the support center, which I'm sure you've seen. That's state of the art, that's for sure. So
it is
not a bad idea. Yeah.
Cool. And I'm happy to provide any information y'all need to make whatever you'd like to have happen.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. All right.
If,
Thanks,
Elise,
commissioners.
I saw your hand go up briefly, or did you have something to ask or comment?
No, I was just concerned that we're getting off track, and since it's stopped in a timely manner, I'm no longer disturbed, which is why I put my hand down.
Okay, all right. So yep, we're going to continue on to.
The progression goes well behind the scenes.
Okay, all right. Let's continue on to the other part of Fairfax County Park Authority, their Heritage Conservation Branch. Stephanie is reporting. Stephanie, you there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Perfect. Hope all is well. I will start with the Historic Sites Volunteer Corps update since it was a question. HSBC will host the landscape cleanup at Union Farm on August 13th. I don't know exactly what or where the volunteer opportunities for HSBC are posted, but I know for a fact there is a website where they appear for sign up. Edward Ehlers with the Heritage Conservation Branch hosts the events, and Sarah Petroff provides administrative support. May I ask who did ask the question, and I can follow up by email tomorrow?
Yes, it's Tammy Manorino.
Tammy, okay.
Yeah, that would be great. And I the reason why I asked it in the group is that I thought there might be other commissioners who would want to know when there was a cleanup going on in their district also.
Gotcha. We can provide that information on staff reports if that would be helpful.
Sure.
Okay. Just a few other updates for operations and maintenance. Engineering company TMG has begun working on Drainsville Tavern to repair termite damage, and they're currently sourcing materials. Their time frame is mid-July to mid-fall, and an update is posted on the resident curator website. WJE led a site assessment for historic Fairfax Arms in late June, and they will be providing a historic structure report and treatment plan for the site. EHT Traceries was recently approved to conduct a historic structure report and treatment plan for Union Farm. Just one resident curator program update. Work will begin this summer at Elmore Farmhouse, pending county permit approvals. There are plans to complete all improvements to the house within 6 to 12 months. And then there was a kind of ceremonial lease signing that was held on site on June 2nd. And Supervisor Alcorn attended and spoke at the event. I believe that is all. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have one. Robert, can you tell me where we stand on Mark White Gardens?
There are still ongoing discussions internally on the next steps. So unfortunately, I don't have an update. I do know there will be future, opportunity for the public to engage. But that's discussions are being held, with director's office and RMD, Resource Management Division, and so I'm not aware of the next steps. But I'll keep you posted.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Jordan, I assume your hand is up from previously.
Sorry.
It's okay. Just double checking. I just don't want to miss anybody.
Yeah.
All right. Lynn, Lynn, you're muted if you.
Sorry. Do you have any updates on Marybrook?
Marybrook, no, I do not.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's being considered for the resident curator program, not necessarily. I'm not familiar with the goings on there just yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Continuing on then.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm sorry. Chris, Virginia Room.
Hi, good evening. So if you like researching in the Virginia Room on Monday and Tuesday mornings, you're going to be out of luck because starting on August 14th, we are changing our hours again. The entire FCPL system will be opening 1 o'clock. We'll be open 1 to 9 on Mondays and Tuesdays, and Wednesdays to Sundays will be 10 to 6. The reason being, we have quite a significant staffing shortage all across the library system in general. So hopefully that'll help alleviate some of the some of the staffing shortages issues that we've been having until we hire people. Speaking of hiring, the Virginia Room Library 1 position closed late last month, and we'll likely be doing interviews for that position later this month. There are 3 new Fairfax County newspapers that have been digitized on Virginia Chronicle. They date from 1946 to 1963, called the Fairfax Standard. It got renamed to the Standard, and then it got renamed again to the Fairfax County Journal Standard. And I know Tammy has been using them, so they're a pretty fantastic resource. Again, it's on Virginia Chronicle. It's free, searchable, downloadable. It's awesome. We all love the Historic Newspaper Index and Cemetery Survey databases, but they were built in the early 1990s and somehow are still surviving today, but they can no longer exist in their current format in the future. So we are in discussions with our LibIT folks about redesigning them and migrating them to a newer platform. So as much as we love the old interface of the Historic Newspaper Index, and I'm sure people won't be too pleased that it's changing, we got to change it to make sure it still can be used. Part of this is we're revisiting actually continuing to maintain the cemetery survey database. And now that Amy and her fantastic crew are working on building a new database tentatively in 2024, we're talking about maybe just kind of sunsetting that database and having Amy take control and being the official cemetery Fairfax County gurus around town. So we're considering that and working with her department. And then lastly, we got a sweet book that was owned by Silas Burke, the Silas Burke, off of eBay. Wow. It's an 1830 book about various infantry militia maneuvers, and he inscribed it 3 times in 1834, and it was passed on to a couple other Fairfax County folks. So we're really excited to add that to our collection. Any questions at all?
Does John Frana know about that book?
He does indeed. I did let him know, and the Burke Historical Society too.
That's wonderful. And if you ever lose your job as a librarian, which we hope you never do, I think news journalism and broadcasting has a place for you.
Well, thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Chris. And again, thanks to Stephanie earlier. Didn't mean to neglect that. Thank you. Appreciate that staff comes out here and that you have long days when you do that. All right. Next up is Grace for DPD. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's been a really busy summer over here in Heritage Resources. So I'm just going to jump right into the updates. The Soapstone Connector and Association Drive office complex. Laura recently attended a public information meeting that was held in July, and FCDOT presented a draft memoranda of agreement, and comments on that were due a few days ago. Staff requested a public report that provides detailed research on the association drive complex as part of their package. Next up, we have the DC area coastal storm risk management study in the Mount Vernon district. We talked about it a little last month, but the proposal includes construction of flood walls in the Bellhaven area. The impacted resource would be the George Washington Memorial Parkway. And this is not yet a Section 106 review, but it will be in the future. And in more immediate news, the new History Commission liaison will start on Monday, August 15th. We will work on getting her up to speed, and she will be present at the September meeting. And we have 2 openings right now for jobs. The first is the limited term planner 2, which we talked about a little last month. That is still open, so please continue to spread the word on that. And the second job we have open is a permanent planner 2, whose duties will directly support the ARB. And this application closes on August 12th. So please be sure to spread the word about this position as well. And that wraps up all of our updates. I can take any questions, or I can forward anything on to Laura.
All right, thank you. Sally, did you have something? You're muted.
I was trying to catch
between, trying to catch you between events. I don't have the ID number for the dial-in.
Oh.
I tried to call in earlier when my thing went out, and the conference number I had wasn't right.
Okay, so that ID, the conference ID number for this meeting is 244 405 861 480.
Thank you. In case I get knocked off again.
Understand. Jordan.
Yeah. So Grace, unfortunately, I couldn't make the meeting on Soapstone, but do you know whether they're planning at this? I asked this question, but haven't heard an answer from the Department of Transportation. But are they planning another? Are they planning a consultation meeting with the consulting parties, or was that it?
I don't have the answer for that question, but if you contact Laura, or I can have Laura contact you, she probably has that information.
Yeah. Yeah. If she could, I'd appreciate it. I think that step probably still needs to be taken.
Okay, I'll have her contact you.
Thanks.
Okay. I didn't see I think Tammy and then Barbara. Nate?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I just had a question. This is kind of for Sally. With the Section 106, impending Section 106 for the parkway work that's going to be done, did we get our request in to be a consulting party on that?
Cheryl?
We did.
Yeah.
So we and I don't know if the deadline for public comments applied to that request, but because it's actually went to a different person. So we did submit a request to be a consulting party for that flood control study. And I did CC it to the public comment person as well. Although there wasn't any real comment other than concern for the historical, resources. So, that may have been a little bit past the deadline.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, good. Excellent. Quick reaction work. Thank you, Sally, and thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, sure. Sorry, it's Barbara. Thank you.
Yes. I just wanted to add concerning Soapstone that Cheryl sent out the details that and sent the letter on behalf of the commission supporting what is proposed and also supporting DPD staff. But I wanted to note in addition to the report, there will be 3 wayside markers. So that's important. And I had urged, one of my ideas was because we have public art in Reston, that they do something. So this is a minimum, but at least we were going to have 3 markers. And so I think that we accomplished a great deal in an interesting extended effort. So I thank all of us that have been involved. And so I'm pleased that at least there will be a record of what the vision was about for Reston. So that's what I wanted to offer. Thanks.
Yeah, and there was a deadline there that I thought we had to meet. That was right.
Thank you,
and that
Sarah.
also just got in by the skin of
That
its
and
teeth.
tight turnaround that you had. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, actually, there was a little bit more leeway than that, but all of a sudden it became very tight.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah, it happens. Denise.
Hi, thanks for recognizing me. I was just hanging out, sorting through emails, but I was hearing the discussion. So, Jordan, to answer your question, I do not believe that there is another meeting planned for the consulting parties. I think that this public meeting that they just held was it, but I can certainly check on that for you. I'm actually the lead for this Soapstone connector and for all Section 106 in the Section 106 reviews in the department.
Okay.
I will check on that and get back with you.
That's great. Also, do you happen to know, has the SHPO, the Virginia SHPO, approved it at this point too? Did they comment? Were they a part of the public meeting, and did they express an opinion?
Yeah, again, I'll check on that for you. I do not remember seeing SHPO at the public meeting, but I will definitely check on that.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Mary.
Can you explain what the difference between the limited to planner and the permanent planner are? What the differences are?
Yes, the limited term was authorized by the Board of Supervisors to support the History Commission and the Marker Project.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and the permanent planner too is for support for the Architectural Review Board.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments for Grace? Okay.
Thank you, Grace. It's good to see Megan.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you, staff, for updating us and keeping us apprised of what's going on in your various departments. So we don't have anything on the agenda for unfinished or new business. If you want to, I don't necessarily want to get into the weeds of it too long. But if I was going, so we do have a request from the library as to whether or not we need their rooms. And I don't know, Grace, perhaps you can inquire as to, and I think I've already asked Laura this, so never mind. Laura's already aware that that we don't know when this state of emergency is going to end. So far, I've just been assuming that the overall preference of the majority of the commission is to continue meeting wholly electronically as long as we can. However, if there is this, more and more people, if you're getting tired of the technical difficulties and would actually prefer an in-person meeting, we can move to that in that direction. We have that option. It's in our control at this point.
And I'll just jump in. It is correct that we do not know yet when the state of emergency will be lifted. And we won't get any, from my understanding, we won't get any lead time. We will get a little bit of lead time, but once it happens, it happens.
Right. So yeah, so we'll just, I mean, there will become a point potentially, although, who knows with how COVID moves, when that day might come. But Mary.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, I can't raise my hand, but when Mary's done, may I speak? This is Sue.
Sure. Mary, you're muted.
I forgot to put my hand down.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. All right, Sue, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I wanted to tell you that I just found out today a little bit about the Fairfax courthouse masonry repairs. The Board of Supervisors did include funding for removal of the wings and put the masonry, the brickwork, in the carryover review that they had received this week. On October 11th, they're going to act on that. So at that time, we will know if that brickwork is included. It looks very, very likely. And at that point, too, I'm told we'll have a timeline for how soon it is being done. I don't know if many people have this shared, and it's kind of quiet because, there's a big if there, but it does look like this work will be done perhaps before the end of the year on the courthouse.
Good. That's excellent. That's great. Little bit of a divergence, but that's good news. Thank you.
But it's unfinished business.
That's all right. Well, yes. So yeah, I understand. Okay, but you. Okay. Lynn.
I just want to go back to Subi's question. I think we've talked about this a few months ago. And I think a quick answer, Zoom has done some international research on what employees prefer right now. And it is a hybrid environment to be able to have either in person or remote. And in terms of this particular group, I know there's a few folks with health issues and other issues that might preclude wanting to get together in person. And I can also tell you that the numbers in Fairfax County of COVID running around and really kind of flying high right now. There are a number of people in my church that have it, and we are back to masking up. So I think being cautionary is a good idea. And yet, of course, we're still planning the conferences as a hybrid. So just a couple more thoughts on that.
That's it. Bob, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to tag on behind with Lynn there. I mean, it's a very good point. And I'm in some other groups and they have gone hybrid. So as long as we could get a quorum under a hybrid, I guess you could consider it. So, but I'm really on the side of Lynn right now. Immediately, caution, abundance of caution is fanfare. At least for the very near future. Just my thoughts.
Sure.
Thank you.
Some time ago, I think it was probably a year or so ago or more, I sent out a straw poll asking people whether or not they would be interested in meeting, whether they'd be willing to meet in person. And I know at that point, people were actually even talking about having dividers and the like. There may be other logistical issues that might make doing hybrid meetings difficult for us. We'll have to make some inquiries about that. But what we can do is, I'm not hearing any overwhelming, desires one way or the other, except caution. So I can send out that straw poll again, get a sense of what direction people might want to go. No, Louise.
Yeah, just for clarification, I wasn't promoting in-person meetings.
Okay.
I was just curious because in the other commission meeting that I attended today, I think it was fait accompli that we meet in person. And the hybrid was a backup plan, or participating remotely, it was we have to take permission and blah, blah, blah. So I was just wondering why we were different. That's all. I'm perfectly happy Zooming in with all of you.
So yeah, we're not different in the sense of there are different rules for us. We're operating under the same rules as everybody else. It's just like right now, if you choose to meet, that different backs, boards and commissions can choose to meet in person if they want. But we still have the legal framework for meeting wholly electronically is still in place.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And so Sue just gave us that report on the courthouse. Is there any other new or old business that I overlooked? Okay. Then we can continue on to committee reports. Elise, do you have any committee reports for us?
I'm still waiting for you to get in touch with me about the financial data.
Mm-hmm.
I requested that the expenditures for the History Commission be given to me in electronic form so I can just pull them into a spreadsheet as opposed to having to manipulate them month by month. And I guess Cheryl, if you don't get back to me by next week, then I'll do it the hard way.
Well, I did ask Laura for that.
Okay, I haven't received it.
Yeah.
And
okay.
You didn't CC me on the request, so I didn't know that you had gotten back. You had done that.
All right.
So please keep me in the loop. I won't nag you if I know.
Okay.
But in any event, the budget package is going to come out within the next week or two. And they're probably going to tell us that we should ask for the same amount as we got last year. And I think that we should go ahead and increase our base budget because our expenses have increased. And we're going to have to justify this line by line. So that means markers, adding line item for advocacy if we want to do that. It means tweaking some of the costs. So we may, because we have so much money left over, we may not get any addition more than the $21,000 for fiscal next year. But we'll be starting to make a record for the fact that our expenses are going up. And hopefully we'll start spending money again so that it's reasonable for us to get more money each year.
Okay.
Because eventually our chickens might all come to roost and the 21,000 won't be enough. And there's been no action on the inventory front.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, and I will follow up, and I will CC you on that with Laura. Okay. Anything on inventory?
She said no.
Okay. History conference, Lynn.
There we go. I've got a budget and an agenda I could screen share. If you've already looked at the items that were uploaded, I probably don't need to do that. Is it possible for me to screen share, Cheryl? Do you?
That's Grace.
Grace,
I would think so.
You should be able to.
Yeah. Okay. Oops. Now let me see if I can do this. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. PowerPoint, no files available. Okay. Screen share. No, I don't think. All right. Well, I had a couple of Word documents I wanted to share with you. I'll just cancel out of that. Let me just do a quick overview then, because it's really not a lengthy budget. We the History Conference Planning Committee met last week on the 27th. We had 7 people present, and since that was a quorum, we moved forward. We did talk about the budget and clarifying the conference title, which is Sowing the Seeds of Fairfax County Today. We've got a fair amount of missing information here in terms of actual food costs, confirmation as to whether or not we can use the Sherwood AV equipment for no charge. So we have some missing numbers, but let me just give you a quick global. We're looking at, in terms of attendance, about 10 students, 10 presenters, 6 channels, 16 folks, 20 authors, commissioners, 15 commissioners, and 65 paying attendees, which would bring the number in the audience to about 126. So that would be a number on which to base our food numbers. That might go up, that might go down, that might not even exist if we end up doing a completely remote conference. So we're still kind of playing on a center line with that. Projected income, we're up the registration fee to $30 this year. It's probably a little bit overdue for having done that, but since we haven't met in person for 2 years, we haven't had to deal with food issues. And of course, the cost of food has increased. With 100 attendees at $30 each, that would be $3,000. And then the authors and exhibitors at 15 each for 20 would be $300. We have that carryover that Sue Kovich reminded us of the 2022, which would give a projected income of $53.22, now 85 cents. So that's what that looks like. We also talked about giving scholarships to about 10 students. And a couple of items on the budget include copies for handouts and so forth, and also just kind of miscellaneous and save the date brochures. Copies, we were just going to do that online. So I understand that the advocacy committee is very interested in supporting the conference this year. And Anne, thank you for that. And your folks that want to be energetic and cheerleaders for us. It's wonderful to have champions that want to help out. You all have come up with some interesting ideas. I know I talked to Elise before the meeting tonight about how this might fit into kind of a budget. So Elise, I don't see you on my screen, but do you want to, since we're talking money and we're talking promotion of the conference, do you want to make a motion in this regard?
Basically, what I would like to address what Lynn was talking about. And we really, when we talk about the conference, we really need to talk about in terms of how much we're going to spend, not how much we're going to get. technically the money at the Park Authority doesn't belong to the conference, but it belongs to the History Commission, and morally it belongs to the conference. It's the History Commission's money. It just got sent from DPD to the Park Authority. So it's all the same money. So it's not really carryover, but it is in a large extent proceeds from the previous conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like to suggest is that we set a conference budget of $5,000. And I suggest that amount because that's Lynn's 4570 plus 350 the advocacy committee would like to spend. And that comes out to 4920. So I rounded it up to 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to suggest that the basic operating, that the budget, okay, that the budget for the history conference be up to $5,000. If additional expenditures are needed, they'll be brought to the commission for motions. And if any of the line items change substantially, the commission will be notified. I make that as the motion.
I'll second it. This is Barbara.
Okay. Any discussion? Does this still kind of fit with Anne and the advocacy that you all were thinking in terms of promoting? Because we can easily go back, and what you all probably don't know, except for those on the conference committee, is Cheryl has designed this absolutely gorgeous brochure for us this year. Cheryl, honestly, I don't think you sleep. I think you have a hammock in your office over there at where you hide out during the day. But we looked at it. The conference committee looked at it last week, and it's got a registration page, and it's got a summary of what the conference content is. And so one of the thoughts I had today, and I'd like the committee to weigh in on this, and this is not the place or time for us to actually have a committee meeting, so let's kind of keep that in mind, is that the committee take a look at the possibilities here of doing some kind of maybe just two-sided flyer that's a mini version of the design that Cheryl came up with. And I know the desire is from the advocacy committee is for whatever groups we participate in or show up at to represent the History Commission, is that we have something tangible to be able to give out to the public. Advocacy had suggested 1,000 copies of something. I think that might be a little over the top. So I think what we'll also need to do is take this back to the committee and let them chew on it a little bit. But I cannot.
Can I amend my motion? Can I amend my motion?
Sure.
I want to tag on to that the up to $5,000 includes a line item for printing promotional materials for the history conference.
Okay.
Because that's the amount of money that, and that's my for promoting history conference.
Right.
Yeah. So does Barbara agree with me on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
We wanted to spend $350, and I think that's a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
But I think it should be part of the history conference's budget. So that's what I built into the 5,000. And I'll remind you, we do have a question on the floor.
Could you just restate, at least because I didn't quite hear, what was the line item amount for printing?
$350 for printing history conference promotional materials.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I apologize for launching off into that. I thought a backstory would be helpful.
Yeah,
okay, so I guess we need to vote on this before we have any
so we're still having discussion. So Anne and Mary both have their hands up. Okay. Mary, you want to go? I know your hand's been up for a while.
I was just going to say that September 17th, Oak Hill Open House. If we have anything, I'd be glad to pass it out to people there. Wonderful. So it really wasn't a question, just a comment.
That's okay.
That's great. Thank you, Mary.
And so Anne and Subi.
Yeah, hi. Yes, we got talking about the 350 as part, if you read one of my 5 reports on the share site. And then we had some conversations to fiddle with it. I mean, what you're proposing, Elise, I think is consistent. The last thing you and I talked about was to print up to 350 to print history conference promotional materials. And that version said, and this would be a joint venture between advocacy and history conference committees to determine the appropriate format and quantity.
So I don't know if we need to formalize that, but we as advocacy would like to certainly offer our support and input in these promotional materials because we'll use them.
Yep. Sudhi.
So, so here's an idea, and it's we have never had it on the table before, and it's something that I think overlaps a couple of committees, certainly the ethnic committee and the conference committee. You know, we have talked about the book called Nation of Nations a lot, and we have all, you know, thought about reading it. I bought my own personal copy. I've started to read it. It's outstanding. And I was wondering if, since we have some money, whether we could buy a copy for each of the commission members who don't have it. So, yeah, I see the look on Elise's face. It's an idea.
I'm just saying it's not part. My thought is, Subi, it's not part of the question that's on the floor right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an item
Well,
that should come up at a different
Okay,
time.
I
not
thought
in
it
motion.
would. No, that's fine. That's a fair feedback. It might overlap with the conference committee budget, or we can put it somewhere else. It doesn't matter, but it's somehow related. Okay.
Yeah, Subi, just as a quick support for that, that book is something we are taking a look at using as a foundational piece for the 2023 conference.
Right. That's
so
why
you will be hearing more about that. Okay.
It's also possible that many of us have purchased it on our own.
Yes, I have.
What's the name of the book?
Yeah, I have it
Nation
too.
of Nations.
Nation of Nations.
What of
Nation of
nations?
Nations.
Nation of Nations.
Nation of Nations.
Right, yeah.
Esther?
Thank you. I don't see the need to redesign anything for distribution. If we were to distribute something from the advocacy committee or any of us, I think it should be the flyer with the registration. That's just a suggestion.
Okay. And Tammy?
I'm excited about, whoops, am I unmuting? Okay, I'm excited about the flyer. That sounds awesome. It's a tough decision between sharing the entire flyer. Like I know in past situations, it's been very helpful that it was online because we've had changes in the schedule or modifications as the conference got closer. So it's kind of nice. It was only, it wasn't printed because then we could make those changes. So I know we're getting into flyer design and everything and we can handle this offline, but my immediate gut reaction is something small that points you to the website. And that's what would be helpful to hand out. But that's just my gut reaction. We can go into more detail later. I like the motion as stated by Elise. I think it's a very good motion and gives us flexibility.
Okay. So is there any further discussion?
Well, I just want to affirm some of what the energy that's happened here. For us to be supporting each other in other committees, I think is just outstanding. So thank you, Anne, for your leadership in that. And I'm good with the motion the way it stands too. And I think some of the details is something are details that the committee can work out on.
The two committees, perhaps you want to have a joint meeting or something where you could sort of share your ideas and see what each has in mind, because there are different purposes being at work here, I think.
But we hope to have your brochure up on the website in the not too distant future too.
Any further discussion about the motion? Elise, do you think you can restate that motion for us before we
vote on
it? You're muted.
Muted.
Sorry. And I'm going to also not be looking at you because I'm going to look at an email where I wrote the text in the second one part. Well, actually, it's not coming up quickly. I can do it by heart. I move that the History Commission spend up to $5,000 for this year's history conference, for the 2022 history conference. That if the expenditures exceed $5,000, all expenses beyond that amount will be brought to the commission for a vote. If any of the line items change substantially, those issues will be brought to the attention of the commission. Not necessarily a vote, that's in parens. And that up to 300 of that 5,000, up to 350 is allocated for printing promotional materials for the conference.
Okay. All right. So Bob, did your hand just go up, or is that up from previously? Because I think
maybe still up. I'll second if you need a second.
No, we have it has been seconded, and I'm basically going to call the question unless there is some objection. And
no, my hand was. I apologize. Okay. My hand was been up forever, and I already.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That was just double checking. All right. Yeah. So, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any opposition? Any nays? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's all I have right now for the conference. So do awards. Cheryl, are we ready?
Sure.
Do you want to do awards? Okay.
Yes, please.
So the awards committee has gotten kind of a rundown of where we are in terms of submissions and nominations. And there is one individual, I don't really know how to handle the, we've got a Lifetime Achievement Award on the table, and we'd like to kind of keep it quiet. It's for Debbie Robeson, and so just kind of noodle on that.
Yay.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, at least a lifetime, right? We have 2 videos that came in from Mike Salmons, and one of the videos you'll recognize somebody who has just repeat cameo appearances in it over and over again. It happens to be a sister commissioner, and that is the Family Cemeteries in Fairfax County video, which we have our own Mary Lipsy starring in on several occasions. And then also a video that's really kind of fun if you know much about the Alexandria Kingstown area, called the Gravel Pits, and where all the kids used to do their dirt biking, and where the gravel pits no longer exist, and there's a lot of new community there. So that was kind of interesting. And then the big one that we have talked about for some time now is a Distinguished Service Award for each of the people that contributed into the capstone project. Mary and Phyllis made this nomination. So a gentleman named Steve Chuco, Brian Doe, Fernando Galarza, Roman Patrick, Samuel Pitch, and then the leadership at George Mason University was Akbar Ashurai. So each of those people would get a Distinguished Service Award for their good work on what they did with the capstone project. So those are where our awards stand now. If I missed an award that any of you know got submitted, I need to know. And we're still kind of waiting on some final information from the county attorney's office in terms of monetary distributions. That's it.
All right. Any questions about that? I'm going to assume that Mary, Subi, and Tammy, those are all hands from previously.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just yeah, it's just I could just see when they come up. So all right, just double checking. And then let's continue on African American history inventory. Phyllis and Mary.
Okay. The African American history inventory project is complete. Our committee work is finished, and the database has been built. And we're just waiting for the database to go live, but there's one thing that has to be done before the database goes live, and that is the Memorandum of Understanding has to be signed by the county and George Mason. So we hope that that will be completed later this month.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Cheryl,
That's it.
I forgot to say that the next History Conference Planning Committee meeting is August 24th at 7:30.
Okay.
Via Teams. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No problem. Tammy, did you have a comment about the AAHI? Okay, she just must have had an old hand up. All right. Thank you, Phyllis.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to continue on, I think, yes, to Gretchen and the semi-quincentennial.
Hi, I uploaded like an extensive report, so hopefully you can see it in there, but I'll just hit the highlights that Delegate Terry Austin was appointed the chair of the state commission. So things are starting to move like hierarchically on the state level. Good. And basically there's a couple of key things that are being planned. So a signature kickoff event at Colonial Williamsburg. That's March 11th through 12th of next year. A signature conference at William and Mary. Museum and traveling exhibitions. The Sail 250 program, which they are going to stop in Alexandria in June of 26. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then they have this program called Let Freedom Ring, which is going to be this massive bell tolling fireworks display that goes community to community on July 4th. So those are some of the larger things starting to come to fruition on the state level. And the next meeting for the state commission is September 21st. So if you want like all the specific details on that, it's in the report, and I'm sure that Elliot will put those in the minutes. On the Fairfax County Commission level, we had a meeting today, and the highlights, we had formally adopted all the policies. So bylaws, remote meeting, and remote participation. So that the boring stuff is starting to get out of the way. And then we talked about the creation of a finance committee, the development of commemoration themes. So taking the state's 4 existing themes and then creating, drilling down on the details of how Fairfax County's history ties into that. So that will be exciting. And Carol, I did volunteer you to participate on that committee. So when you get an email about that, you can complain that I volunteered you. Sorry.
All right, you're just on my hit list, that's all. Sorry I couldn't be there today.
But I know you would have volunteered, Carol. So
Thank you.
We also talked about implementing a committee structure and creating an advisory council. So I will toss out to you all that, there's this commission, and then there'll be a committee structure. It's like 7 committees, but these committees need to be populated by non-commission members as well. So if you have an interest in working on the 250th, on the Fairfax County level, there's plenty of opportunities for you to participate over the next 4 years. And there's just a tremendous amount of work. So as we get, more into this, I can circulate the committees and see if you're interested. So that's basically where we are at this point.
All right. Thank you. Sure. Okay. Any questions or comments for Gretchen? All right. This sounds really interesting.
It's coming together.
Yeah, it is, and it's coming up. All right. Advocacy, and you want to have anything else to?
Well, yeah, thanks. The main thing we wanted to get approved just got approved, so that's really good. We last month we did approve the 350 $300 to print a bunch of AAHIs and for the tablecloth, and so it's good to to little by little knock these things off. So we hope to have a meeting, and we hope that Lynn and Stu can come as joint members between the two committees on one of these Thursdays this month. So the 11th, 18th, or the other one, 25th? Yeah. So I sent an email the other day, so have a look. It proposed those dates, so everybody get back to me. That's all.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions for Anne? Okay,
Just thanks again for mixing up the committees. I think that's really healthy. Thank you.
It's good. It's fun.
I'm not, the dates you've already mentioned are already kind of like, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
No, you have a look at your calendar. Let us know.
All right. Markers, Mary, we have some news.
First of all, a marker dedication ceremony for the McLean Volunteer Firehouse marker is Sunday, August 21st at 1 p.m. I put in the address in last month's share file, but I'll just repeat it. It's 1440 Chainbridge Road, McLean, Virginia. If you know where the Kazan restaurant is, it's right near there. Carol, do you want to add anything to it?
No, I think you've got it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I received a phone call from the third generation owner of the Siwa studios to talk to me about markers. But I want to share something first, is that he was complimenting us on our markers, particularly the seal and the colors. And I explained to him where the colors came from, that Jack Hiller had chosen them to complement the Continental Army uniform of George Washington. So I called Marianne Hiller to share that compliment, because he said of all the markers that they have, and they represent 40 states, he said the History Commission was one of the best ones he'd seen. So I thought, cheers to Jack Hiller, and cheers that we're keeping it up, from there. What he had called about was that there is a huge backlog of orders for markers, that as if everyone during the pandemic paused, and now they're getting all these orders in. So he's requested that we postpone ordering any new markers until January of 2023. Also, he told me that because of inflation, prices that they used to guarantee for a year could not be guaranteed for more than 6 months at a time. And that because he's telling this to everybody, that there absolutely wouldn't be any new markers coming out from the foundry until spring of 2023. Okay. So immediately I informed Supervisor Palchik of this, because this impacts the historical marker project also, in timing of when the markers go in and how much they cost. So it also impacted the motion that I made last month on the Orange and Alexandria Railroad trestle marker at Lake Acatink had been knocked over. And on closer examination, we found there is a crack in the text area. So it cannot be refurbished. It has to be completely redone. So I would like to make a new motion. I did find out today that the park staff can install it, so I don't have to worry about the cost of installation. But it could be, I hope not, but it could be that a marker could go up from the 3,500 to 4,000, 4,500, I don't know. So I am making a motion. I move that the History Commission approve up to $4,500 to approve the manufacture of a new marker for Orange and Alexandria Railroad Trestle Bridge at Lake Acatink Park for your information, the original motion that I put in last month was 2,500, but that was for just, refurbishing the old one. And this has got to be a new marker and new pole. So
I'll
that is my
second
motion.
that.
Second it.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All right, any discussion? Anne, did you just put your hand up on that, or were you just seconding?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had a question. This is probably a really dumb question, but is there insurance coverage for this sort of damage and loss? Because if it was, at our house, we'd have insurance coverage.
There's, to my knowledge, there's no insurance coverage, but it is in the license agreement that we make with the property owners that we are responsible for the maintenance or possible damage to the marker, which is much to the relief to the Lake Acatink Park staff. So,
I wonder if it would ever be indicated or possible to insure them. I just don't know.
I don't know either.
I think Barbara.
And unless the rules have changed, it used to be that the park authority was self-insured, and so you're kind of stuck. We went through lots of things to get the collections insured, but with regards to things like that, it's the park authority self-insured. So
yeah, that's the way it is.
Commission, but that's how it is. So
that sounds like money. Self-insurance is real.
There would have to be something offered by the manufacturer.
Yeah,
right.
except for the agreement. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, we can call the vote then. All those in favor of approving up to $4,500 for a new marker for the A&O Trestle. Am I saying that correctly, Mary?
Yep. Orange and Alexandria Railroad Trestle Bridge.
Is that Lake Acatink Park?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Lynn, did you have something to say? Did I cut you off there? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. The title of the marker is going to take up half the space on it.
That was really just a description so that you know what marker we were talking about.
Well, I also am working with Amy and Liz about a marker that the Park Authority put up in Lake Acatink that has a few inaccuracies. So we're working on that. Going on to the marker project, the review committee met and went through the submissions that we received and have chosen 6 submissions to be considered for putting into the ground. Okay. And the topics are, drum roll, please, Louise Archer, Annie Harper, Lillian Blackwell, Gunnell's Chapel, Colin Powell, and the West Springfield 16. And the West Springfield 16 represent the 16 enslaved who labored and lived in the area that West Springfield High School is located at. So are there any questions about that? The next step will be that someone will be researching and writing those markers, not a history commission person. And that's why I was asking Grace. I now know the title is a limited term 2 planner, or planner 2, a limited term planner 2. And REA from Supervisor Palchek thought the limited term might be 18 months. So I'm asking if you know of anybody, you think who could be interested in researching and writing these markers. The History Commission Review Committee will have, it's not a History Commission meeting, it's a review committee, will have review of the final text before they're ordered. But we need someone to research and write these markers. So if you do, could you please pass on the name to me? And I will pass it on to Supervisor Palachek's office. Okay. Any questions on that?
Ann, go ahead.
You're muted, Ann.
Did you just say, I had the dog barking in my ear, that the History Commission won't be reviewing these, that it'll be the other entity?
No. It's a review committee that happens to be 4 members of the History Commissioners. But this was not a committee set up by the History Commission. It's set up for the historical marker project. But it was.
Oh, so you're saying they're not History Commission markers, they're some other design?
They're going to look like History Commission markers bought by the Board of Supervisors.
I think though that the model we have, like with the Civil War trails, the Civil War markers, not trails, the Civil War, well, yeah, trails, that was right. So many of the markers, I mean, if we have our imprint on them, they should go through the regular process.
Well, that's what the review committee is. I
thought you said, oh,
there's 4 history commissioners on that review committee.
It's the committee. So it's your marker committee, and then you'll bring them to us for our final blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, they should go through the same process. If they're ours, there's no reason it should be different.
Well, we're trying to streamline it.
Could I suggest that maybe we make a motion that allows the review committee to be the last review, depending on how the people of the commission feel? I mean, if it's something everybody feels they need to see, then yes, it should follow the normal procedure. But if people are comfortable with trusting the committee and what they've been told, maybe we can make a motion to let Mary break the rules.
Well, let me go back to the beginning. The review committee used the History Commission guidelines from taking the 14 submissions and getting it down to 6.
No, but Mary Ann's right. The commission votes on all the markers that are put up under our imprint. It's been our etiquette. It's been our rule.
So if we're going to do it different, we need to make a note of it.
Yeah, we need to officially decide if that's what the commission wants to do for this case. Either way doesn't matter to me.
Is it really our marker, or is it coming from the Board of Supervisors?
The Board of Supervisors is paying for it.
It's the board.
So, Barbara, go ahead.
We've worked hard through all this to make sure that this is not a history commission. This is Board of Supervisors out of Palachek's office. Mary and I think Tammy and Cheryl have been involved on it, but it's not our markers. We're simply commenting on it, but they're not History Commission markers. They may look like them because, am I correct, Mary?
That's correct.
And so this is part of the Board of Supervisors project that we have all, since it started, said it's yours, not ours. And so that's how we're moving with it. And so it's the fact that they like, that it'll be similar in appearance, but it's not a history they're not History Commission markers.
Let's not take them back.
Pardon
the way
me?
I saw it, the way I heard it for all these months is that if there are design, that Board of Supervisors would become the equivalent of the James Lee Center or something, and would bring this beautifully researched and worded thing for our final. Yeah, that fits us. That's just the way I thought of it all along.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's not like that, it should have a slightly different design that indicates it's a different program. I mean, or we do police sets and
that had been presented along, and that had been presented along the way. I mean, I've been working with them for, it seems like 2 years now. And every time it kept on saying they wanted the History Commission and wayside markers.
So these are Well, right, but the final option was that these are going to be History Commission markers in
Appearance.
in appearance. They are going to look exactly like our markers. The process by which they have come into being is different, but we are participating in that process as History Commission, and it is in accordance with our standards. So these markers will meet History Commission standards. And whether you wish to, as Elise says, it could either be something where the review committee, which is a committee of history commissioners, it was just a subcommittee of the marker committee and AAHI. So this just those two memberships came together, a subcommittee, from each
Can I
of
ask
those.
a quick question? I'm having trouble finding a big image of a marker. At the very bottom of our marker, does it say erected by the History Commission?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to
And
suggest.
those words will say erected by the Board of Supervisors.
We could say that, and I don't know how they'll react to it.
Yeah, that hasn't been discussed at all.
Has not been discussed.
Yeah.
But
I
probably
think
wouldn't know.
I think that these are great markers. I think you need to see the list of what the students have put forward and the reasons that they put them forward. And I think that we would want to embrace this.
May I say something?
Sure.
I think I've got my hand up.
Yep.
At least two of those are in my district. And I would have a problem with just somebody writing a marker because I'm pretty technical on these things. Ann knows that. And so I'm wondering if like I could get somebody from the McLean Historical Society to write them. But I just don't want someone writing a marker and then we have to nitpick it, because whoever writes it is going to start from scratch and they're going to come right back to me and I'm going to end up telling them what to write. So I have a problem with that.
Actually, Carol, I'm sorry. In their
Go ahead.
submission, they are very specific on the description of what should be included, why the person should be recognized, sources, etc.
No, I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is they're going to come to me. Where are the sources? What is this? What is that? And I mean, I could write those markers with my eyes closed right now, but that's not the point. I mean, they're in my district, so could somebody from the McLean Historical Society write them?
If they want to write all of them.
My
Carol,
point, who's writing?
I'm envisioning that I'll be the one that will be working with the person doing the markers. And if you trust me, I will come to you with questions. Okay. But the idea was that the History Commission was not, we're trying to keep ourselves separate from this so that it is a Board of Supervisors project, not the History Commission.
I think the concern was workload, that we not have a significant workload placed on us.
Right.
Well, that's absolutely right. We never wanted to do the work, but I never thought we were giving up final say. That's a
No,
difference.
that isn't been given up.
That isn't.
Okay. So, and there's I'll echo Carol on. I'm just so thrilled about Louise Archer and Lillian Blackwell. Those are our people. So we too are, got a lot of interest, but we, who our experts are too. So
well, and I'll tell you that the locations are not set yet as to where they're going, because some of these, their actions, some of these actions of these people has represented the whole county.
Yes.
Like Lillian Blackwell.
No, but we know them. I'm only saying. I'm not talking location.
You can cheer your hometown gal.
People.
Yes. Yeah.
So Tammy?
I'm afraid to raise my hand because I won't get it back down again. It took me half an hour last time. So they all sound fantastic, and I cannot wait to learn more about these. What is going on aside from the markers? Is there going to be a any other recognition for the folks who submitted these? Are the schools going to do a program?
I'll do very quickly. Every person who submitted will get a letter or email or certificate from their supervisor and Jeff McKay. The 14 groups that got the first cut will be asked, of course, that includes the 6 that we've selected, will be asked to come before the Board of Supervisors and get their picture taken and stuff like that. We don't have dates and everything on that. The 14 submissions are going out on the website, which was put out there, because one thing I kept on saying is that we need to keep all this knowledge that has been collected of the 53 submissions, of the 14 submissions. So those 14 will be out there on the website so that people can read who submitted them, you know, what their reasoning was, etc. Okay. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that everybody, you know, realizes that this was a process, a community process. The voting committee came from the community. There were students on it, and they did the first cut to get from the 50 down to the 14. And so then we went from 14 down to 6.
That's great. Yeah, okay. That's fantastic. Wonderful work.
Okay. So Mary, in terms of going forward, because initially I thought that the review committee's purpose was just to take those 14, narrow it down to the 6.
No, we have a second step.
Okay.
After they are written, okay, then we're the last hurrah.
Okay. So perhaps you do want to so you, and were you then considering going to, as the marker committee typically does, forward the final text to the History Commission as a whole, or did you envision that the review committee would be the final arbiter of the text?
Yeah, the review committee.
So then I think, going back to Elise's point, you might want to make a motion to that effect.
Okay.
Go ahead, Elise. Did you want to comment?
I also want to chime in that the Board of Supervisors should be, in the little writing, it should be erected by the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors on the bottom of the marker, not erected by the History Commission. And if it's going to be erected by the History Commission, then the History Commission really ought to vote on it. So,
oh, okay.
Mary hadn't promised that it wouldn't say erected by the History Commission yet.
Excuse me, say that again?
Can you promise that it won't say erected by the History Commission?
It won't.
They have the same look at the History Commission marker, but I had never thought about it saying History Commission on there.
The little tiny writing at the bottom.
Oh, I know what it says. Yeah.
I think the intent of the board motion was to expand the scope of History Commission markers.
Could I suggest we table this and come back to next month?
Sure, I think so. I think that we need to make some inquiries. I think that's a good idea, Elise. Is that all right with you, Mary?
Yeah. I don't know. It shouldn't influence whatever else is going on. I'll try and write up the stuff too, because we meet again in 2 weeks. Okay. It may have to go through Supervisor Palchik because and see what the board matter says. Because I know it, if I remember right, that it says History Commission markers in the board matter.
So
okay.
Yeah, let's go back and check that and
yeah.
You know, so we'll table that for right now.
So okay, all right. So still, if you know somebody who might want the job, please give me the names. Okay. Going on to cemetery. Amy Wells and I had a nice long meeting to talk about cemetery stuff in the county and what the worksheet's doing and what our group is doing. Quickly, the GPR has been completed at the Germantown Cemetery, and the results are supposed to be shared in late August. The family members and descendants and all are planning a Germantown Cemetery Legacy Day, which will be Sunday, August 28th from 3 to 6 at the Truro Anglican Church in Fairfax. This is encouraging all descendants who are connected to the cemetery to get together and meet and greet and share stories, etc. So that's a wonderful progress. It happens to be around the time period that the first, the deed was signed. And the MOA is still under review by county staff and the attorney. And that's it, unless people have questions.
All right. Thank you, Mary. We can continue on. Esther, do you have a report for ethnic and oral history?
I have no report. Our last meeting only had 3 people in it. So I'm trying to assess the days that might be more amenable to the committee so that we have better attendance. Meanwhile, I feel that we probably should meet. I'm going to announce now that that meeting is the 23rd of August, 7 p.m. Teams. And I'll put that paperwork in.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Esther. And I apologize for, I think I was traveling from one place to the other that particular day. And I couldn't get my phone.
Mary, I just have a question. Have we changed the name on our, commissioners and everything from Lee District to Franconia? Since that's a new name. Phyllis is smiling.
That is a very good point. I don't know.
Excuse me, this is Steve Sherman here regard to the district. As it's still the district, I think the name Franconia won't go into effect till next year sometime.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's this, Phyllis?
That was Mary.
Oh, Mary. Okay. Because I know Phyllis, when she announced herself.
They're actually doing it. They're actually doing it. Well, at least Supervisor Lusk's office is doing it by saying Lee District / Franconia.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because
I read a newspaper article today that had Franconia District Rodney Lusk. So
yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, when I heard Phyllis say Franconia District, I said Franconia District too, but I thought it was officially going into effect next year sometime. But I guess they're changing them right now. So.
Well, I can check with our webmaster. There's probably a county policy about when and how they're handling that. That's probably county-wide.
They had asked the county executive's office to look at the cost and everything, so that still has to be done. But for most things, they are using Franconia.
Okay.
All right.
That's good enough for me.
And I know there's probably some outstanding things that are still need attendance on the website, including looking at the inventory pages. So announcements. Anybody have announcements? Lynn.
Quickies. I attended John Ward's funeral yesterday. The Ward family's been around in Fairfax County for many years. Apparently they can trace themselves back to Jamestown. Claudette Ward, some of you know who she is John's mother. And ironically, his celebration of life was on his birthday. He was born on August 2nd. So it was a lovely, lovely, very patriotic service. And I had the opportunity to sit with Ted McCord. So that was kind of nice. Also, for those of you that are wondering what's going on with Naomi, she is much better, much better. Not quite ready to see people yet, but I think she would love some phone calls. So if that's something you feel called to do, actually, you can just Google her name. It'll come up with her address and her phone number. And I'm sure she'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for that, Lynn. Sorry. So I'm not sure whose hands have just gone up. Anne, did you have something? And then Sally?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Vienna finished its second annual Liberty Amendments Month, and it was another wonderful month of history. And
yes.
If anybody wants to do one, I know David talked about Fairfax City doing it. But if you want to kind of get up to speed on what it takes for a community, it is a terrific thing. Hard to sustain everybody over a whole month, but it's very rewarding. So I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it.
I went to one of your last ones, Anne. It was wonderful, and connected with a lot of really cool suffragist-oriented people. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you for all that. Yeah.
Sally, did you have an announcement? Yeah. Okay. Anybody?
Down.
Anybody else? All right. Okay. Then I think we can be adjourned. It's 10:04. Not too bad.
All right.
10 o'clock. All right.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming out and participating. And we'll see you all again in September. And I'm sure we'll be in touch in between then. And I apologize if I am not getting back to people quickly. When I am doing camps, I put in 10+ hour days. And so it does get a little bit difficult to keep up.
You deserve a medal, but thank you for doing that, Cheryl.
Sure, thank you.
Much
Well, you
needed.
deserve a vacation at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Go to
Yes,
bed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Everyone with a child appreciates
Everybody's doing
you.
lots of work, so thank you all.
Good meeting.
Yeah, no, we all work really hard, so I appreciate everybody. So thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Yes,
Good night.
indeed.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.